I think many people think HR tech is a database or very transactional, just an Excel sheet uploaded into a web app. That's the biggest myth.
And what are the large shifts or the major shifts that you've seen over the years when it comes to HR operations?
If I have to categorize that into different categories, agriculture is essentially where we have 45% of the Indian workforce.
Correct.
And the parody is that, the largest workforce is least touched by HR. And then, the industry and manufacturing has close to 25% of our employment, and services has 30%.
So HR tech seems like such a contradiction of terms for me, because it's all about human resources. It's all about humans. And then we talk about tech. How do you humanize this tech for HR?
So I think these words, legal tech, health tech, HR tech, fintech, are defining the domain of HR. It has nothing to do with human. So HR as a domain, finance as a domain, you develop a SaaS product for it, and then you say fintech, HR tech, legal tech, etc.
Can you elaborate on what a full suite HR solution really means?
So you hire an employee, you onboard an employee, you manage their leave, attendance, performance, expense. You also process the payroll, and whenever the employee actually leaves, you also manage their exit, everything in a single system. So that's exactly what we mean as a full suite HR. Developers in our teams actually use Cursor AI, Claude AI to do vibe code. Today, in most of the greenfield projects, 80 to 85% of our code is actually written by AI.
Okay.
And QA, we are testing few automation tools which are having some bit of embedded AI in it. And even for the reliability,
Welcome to another episode of the Do Big podcast. Today we have with us Surya Srinivas, VP Engineering at greytHR. He's a leader who's had close to 18 years of experience shaping high-scale, high-trust software systems. At greytHR, he leads the technology vision for one of India's most widely adopted HR platforms. greytHR is a platform that is used by 30,000 businesses every month and adds 100,000 new employees into their system. In his current role, he's driving excellence, platform modernization, and next generation of automation for India's SMEs. He is respected for simplifying complex ideas and is a tech leader who thinks deeply about people, processes, and platforms, and believes that a well-designed system doesn't just solve problems, actually prevents them. In today's episode, we're excited to dive into the future of HR tech, engineering cultures at scale, and how greytHR is building the new operating system for India's workforce. Surya, welcome to the Do Big podcast. It's an absolute pleasure having you here today.
thanks for having me. I'm equally excited to be part of this show.
Let's start with a fun icebreaker.
Absolutely.
One HR task that you wish was automated yesterday.
I would say two. Number one is, I think, collection of documents.
Okay.
When an employee onboards or when they submit different proofs or expenses, I think many companies are still on paper. I think that has to be digitized. And second thing, specifically in the India context, I believe it's the compliance. In India specifically, we have many, labor laws and institutions like EPFO for Provident Fund, Income Tax, Professional Tax, Labor Welfare Fund, ESI, and many other acts like Maternity Act, Gratuity Act. I think all these have to be automated so that the organizations can stay focused on their business.
That's very interesting. Compliance is so important in today's day and age. Your favorite tech stack or a tool you can't live without?
I think it is called Roam Research. It's not much popular, but it's a journaling tool. So there is a concept called BASB, which means build a second brain. I think we are living in an attention economy.
Correct.
So everybody is distracted with a lot of notifications, chat messages, etc. So, and when we manage large teams, it becomes impossible to remember everything. So Roam Research actually helps reduce cognitive load. And the way it works is similar to our brain. And it also helps a lot in reflection.
That's a very interesting one. I'm going to go and check it out. A myth about HR tech people should stop believing.
I think many people think HR tech is a database or very transactional, just an Excel sheet uploaded into a web app. That's the biggest myth. Fundamentally, HR as a department is an operating system for any organization. and HR tech is the OS behind the operating system. So it's the OS behind the OS. And we fundamentally believe that HR tech is the intelligence that actually shapes and enables the culture, performance, and well-being of any organization.
One emerging tech you're personally very excited about?
Recently, I read about orbital computing. So it is cloud computing in orbit.
Yes.
So when I actually started my tech journey and when I heard about cloud computing, I was thinking cloud means somewhere up in the sky, but it's still on the earth. I think the way we have scaled the entire cloud computing, it is slowly not becoming sustainable anymore. And hence Google actually is experimenting with pushing all the servers into clouds and use the solar energy to power the infrastructure. So this seems to be very, very exciting to me.
And is it exciting because it's more from an sustainability perspective, or is it more exciting because I didn't think it was going to get up there in the universe?
It is more exciting because somebody can actually put cloud back into cloud and can be a blue sky thinker, and more from a sustainability perspective, to be honest.
Okay. And one word to describe the future of HR tech?
I think it is augmented.
Okay, explain that to me a bit.
So AI is definitely rapidly developing in every field, and so is HR. So I think HR will be augmented with AI in the coming days. Yes.
Okay. And I just want to understand, HR tech has evolved a lot. I mean, I remember from the time when I started my career, my Gray will tell you that it started many, many years ago. It has evolved over the years. And how do you define HR technology today? How has it changed over the years?
So like many SaaS platforms, there is a maturity curve for an HR tech. So fundamentally, it starts, as a system of record to start with, where companies actually record the employee data, the payroll configurations, the attendance policies, so on and so forth. This is the fundamental, the backbone of any system. And once the data gets captured, the next level of maturity is called a system of, engagement.
Okay.
Right. So in system of engagement, you actually try to engage, different parts of your company, be it employees for self-service or managers for approvals, or even the mobile app that the employees use to apply leaves and check pay slips, right? So this is typically the system of engagement. So in the system of record is typically the HR admin activity, and system of engagement is where the HR BPs come into picture in terms of engaging the entire workforce. So the third level is called a system of insights. This is where the HR actually gets a lot of insights in terms of how is the gender ratio, how my workforce is scattered across different places, etc. And the next level is the system of intelligence, right? So this is where I think HR tech is headed in terms of, proactive nudges, contextual recommendations, hyper-personalization, so on and so forth. So the difference between insights and intelligence is like, looking into a rear view mirror versus using maps to navigate. Just to, going from theory to real-time examples of how HR tech has evolved, many a times, many companies or HRs actually mistake attendance as punch in, punch out, or log in, log out. It's far complex and bigger than that. If you take manufacturing as a industry, right, the workforce comes and there is a lot of overtime that has to be captured. Similarly, when it comes to healthcare, which needs to run 24/7, right? And there, the shift scheduling becomes very, tricky and complex. In case of hospitality, let's say there are some hotels and restaurants where the workforce might come from afternoon or morning 11 to 3 or evening 7 to 11, which are like split shifts.
Correct. Similarly,
in retail, there'll be a lot of field workers
Correct.
who actually have to tag their attendance. One of our premier customers is KFC, right? Mm-hmm. So they actually use a feature called auto geofence, wherein they don't even need to take their mobile and mark their attendance. Once they come into the KFC shop, the attendance gets automatically marked once you switch on your GPS. Similarly, once you move out, it actually gets marked out.
So what happens? I come into the store, I leave to go out for something, I come back again. Yeah. It marks every entry and exit?
Yes. And the overall time, let's say you have to stay for 9 hours, it'll be captured in chunks. Right?
Almost makes me feel like Big Daddy is watching.
And the beauty of this particular feature is in malls where you have the KFC stores. right? Say for example, if the store is actually in second floor, and the geo coordinates will remain the same even in ground floor and first floor. So we have made sure that the accuracy goes to up to 50 meters or 25 meters, so that the employees can actually come into the store and mark their attendance. So this is how I just gave you a small example of how HR tech has evolved from an attendance perspective across different industries.
So HR tech seems like such a contradiction of terms for me, because it's all about human resources, it's all about humans, and then we talk about tech. How do you humanize this tech for HR?
So I think these words, legal tech, health tech, HR tech, fintech, are defining the domain of HR. It has nothing to do with human. So HR as a domain, finance as a domain, you develop a SaaS product for it, and then you say fintech, HR tech, legal tech, etc.
Okay. And what are the large shifts or the major shifts that you've seen over the years when it comes to HR operations?
See, fundamentally, if you look at the Indian workforce, predominantly, if I have to categorize that into different categories, agriculture is essentially where we have 45% of the Indian workforce.
Correct.
And the parody is that, the largest workforce is least touched by HR. And then, the industry and manufacturing has close to 25% of our employment, and services has 30%, right? Which is the white collar employees. So the HR is very, very dominant in services, getting slowly into the manufacturing industry. And, fundamentally, today, the biggest challenge for any HR is to manage different generations of workforce. Somebody who was born in 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, which we call as, baby boomers, Gen Y, millennials, and Gen Z. And millennials and Gen Z, they are born and brought up and grew through the technology.
Correct.
So one of the biggest shift is they expect a consumer grade experience. You have your mobile app, you browse Netflix, Amazon, Uber, Zomato. You end up there also want the HR app to be so seamless. And that's where I think, the biggest shift that we have seen is in terms of how HR, which is typically perceived as a back office operation, now moved into, a very, very consumer grade experience when it comes to, giving world-class people experience.
Okay, and what goes into a full stack HR platform like greytHR? What's the technology from an engineering perspective? What goes in a full stack?
So any HR tech actually has to support various industries, various customers. Sometimes it goes into hundreds of thousands of customers, right? And each customer's data should be unique. So we call this as multi-tenancy, which means every customer has their own database, right? The number of features they use, the configurations they have, etc., are very, very unique to that particular customer. The second aspect is we also support, or any HR tech should support, multiple regions. So, multi-region is a second dimension that an HR tech platform should look into in terms of data residency. If customers' data resides in India, we have data centers in India versus Middle East or Europe and Singapore, so on and so forth. The third thing is multi-cloud. This is optional, to limit the blast radius and also to ensure, there is no vendor lock-in. Many HR tech actually kind of use, a combination of AWS or MS, GCP or Azure, etc. Essentially, this is also important because if there is an outage, there is no full application that goes into downtime for the customers. And as I mentioned earlier, mobile app is extremely important for any HR tech in terms of taking the people experience to the next level. And I think, a free trial experience for any HR tech platform is very important for customers to first try out how the product looks, feels, and adds value to their overall HR operations. So, multi-tenancy, multi-region, multi-cloud, all these things are extremely important to build a full stack HR.
And where does data security, data privacy, all of that, because you're dealing with people's information sources, where does that sit within the whole thing?
So it sits within the database, right? And based on the regulations, at times we also need to encrypt the data, mask the data, and all these things, right? We have something called as a vault, where, it is more secured both at in transit and at rest with respect to the data part.
Oh, that's interesting. And yours is a cloud-based platform, right? What does a scalable cloud infrastructure look like?
So just to give some numbers of what we do as of today in 2025, we have close to 3.2 million users or employees on our platform. Every month over month we process payroll to close to 3.2 million employees, and our mobile app actually has close to 1 million users. In the entire world there are hardly 12 to 13 mobile apps which have 1 million downloads. Though there are more than 5,000 plus HR tech platforms, there are only 12 to 13, and greytHR is one where we have 1 million downloads and more than 1 million active users. And we process payroll. Yearly we transfer salaries worth close to $25 billion.
Wow.
And it is almost 2 to 3 times of the GDP of countries like Maldives. So that's the scale at which we operate. So now building such a system definitely involves a very scalable architecture. Microservices is one of the patterns that we use. Kubernetes orchestration when it comes to the infrastructure, and auto scaling during peak periods, because month ends where the payroll gets processed, or the daily punch in punch outs during the peak hours of morning and evening, right? The system has to auto scale. And we also have zero downtime deployments, very strong observability to understand how the errors are getting logged and which customers are facing challenges, etc. So our uptime is somewhere around 99.98 right now, and we kind of provide the best reliability possible across the globe.
All the data that you threw at me and told me gives me a sense that the integration is extremely complex, because suddenly you're saying, okay, scale up at between 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, scale down after 10 o'clock till about 4:35, then scale up again at 5. If you're processing for 3.2 million people, I'm assuming 10 days, last week of one month and another week of another month is where the loads go up.
Correct.
How does that integration work?
See, essentially integration comes into picture when you have multiple systems, right? So greytHR is a full suite HRMS, which means everything is at a single place.
Okay.
So essentially, you hire an employee, you ensure to process their attendance, look at their expenses, process payroll, everything in a single system. That's the full suite HRMS that we have. Having said that, HR tech by itself won't be able to solve the entire problem. For example, some of the integrations that we have, just to give some real-time use cases, the biometric device integrations, right? So a lot of companies actually use biometric, and the swipes are actually integrated back into the system. Okay. Similarly, the PAN Aadhaar linking, which is very mandatory for employees, and we actually integrate with the government portal to ensure that the PAN and Aadhaar for every employee is linked or not. HRs can easily check. Also, the bank transfers. Right? So once the payroll is processed, with a click of a button, the payment can be transferred via the bank portal to the employee's bank account. Also, the finance system integrations, the journal vouchers and the ledgers have to be integrated into the finance systems, like the Tele, Zoho books, etc. So essentially, every HR tech system needs to have a lot of these integrations. HR system or HR tech by itself can't survive, but with this ecosystem it can. And one of the other unique thing that we offer is called as Unite Marketplace, where we have more than 35 vetted vendors of different categories who are complementary solutions to greytHR. For example, for background verification, we have Spring Verify. For rewards and recognitions, we have Advantage Club and Clear Tax, which is one of the famous tax filing, right? So with Clear Tax, now when the tax season comes, somebody can open greytHR and just click a button, and their Form 16 will go from greytHR into Clear Tax, and the tax gets filed. So that's the level of integration that we do. They're pretty complex, but with whatever engineering power that we have, we made sure that it's seamless for our customers.
So that's your full suite of HR solutions. Give me top three. I know there will be many, but give me the top 3 value that greytHR adds to customers.
I think the first value is we offer zero cost support, which means whether you are a company with 50 employees or 50,000 employees, post implementation, you actually don't need to pay anything for the support. And the second thing is we are the most affordable HRMS right now in the market. I think one of our missions is to build the best HR and payroll functions for MSMEs. Right? Okay. And MSMEs are always crunched on budget. So for them, definitely affordability is a key constraint. And we have built over the last several decades, and we have understood how to actually build products at scale and also affordable. That's the second value that we offer. And of course, beyond the product, the robust and fast payroll and the various attendance marking mechanisms and the full suite HRMS, we have also built a huge ecosystem through our academy, through our webcasts, etc., for the HR community to learn and engage with each other. I think that's the best value that we offer from greytHR.
Can you elaborate on what a full suite HR solution really means?
See, traditionally, HRs always faced a challenge because they were actually going into point solutions. For example, an HR would use one system for hiring, another system for attendance capture, one more for payroll processing, another for expense management, because, there were a lot of vendors who were actually, selling point solutions. Now, what happens is you have to download data from one system, upload it back to another system, again, download from one system and upload back to another system. It is becoming cumbersome for, many HRs. And if you have to get insight or, reporting across different systems, it becomes, fairly impossible. So that's where I think full suite HRMS actually helps. Traditionally, if you, little bit away from the HR tech, for the last 1-2 decades, you have seen a rise in the multi-cuisine restaurant or multiplex or multi-specialty hospitals, right? Why people actually go there is because they can actually eat different varieties of food or buy different varieties of items, or get their consultation done, tests done, and buy medicines at the same place, right? This is essentially what we also offer as a full suite HRMS. So you hire an employee, you onboard an employee, you manage their leave, attendance, performance, expense. You also process the payroll, and whenever the employee actually leaves, you also manage their exit, everything in a single system. So that's exactly what we mean as a full suite HRMS.
Okay. HR tech deals with highly sensitive employee data. And I think I kind of spoke about it in the early part of our conversation. But what security frameworks and compliance standards are essential for building such an HR tech platform, which takes care of data security and sensitive employee data?
Absolutely. I think, the personal data, what we call as PIA, personal identifiable information, is with the HR tech platform. Security starts from coding. Many a times, some of the companies are very reactive in doing. It's valid. We call it VAPT, which is vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. It identifies the vulnerabilities inside an application. So we do that. Beyond that, we actually use a shift left methodology in terms of our development lifecycle, because the code can have vulnerabilities. Once the code is built into an image, a container can have vulnerabilities. The infrastructure can also have vulnerabilities. So we have different tools to scan the code, scan the container, scan the infrastructure. In AWS also offers AWS Security Hub. GCP offers something called a Security Command Center. And all these actually ensure to assess the entire code to infrastructure and give a comprehensive report about security. So that's where the security starts. And beyond that, SOC 2 is one of the SOC 2 compliance is extremely important in terms of security, privacy. So greytHR is SOC 2 compliant, and we use something called a zero trust model, where our developers will never have access to production data. So that's how we ensure that there is 100% security with respect to our customers' data in greytHR.
Wow.
This is the third successful year where we have attrition less than 3 or 4% in engineering organization of close to 120 people. So Bain actually says, the best engineering teams have 12 to 16%, where we kind of maintained it less than 4%. And, it is because of, the flexibility that we have given. A lot of our engineers also have this thing called workation, where they book an Airbnb in Darjeeling or Gokarna or Goa or Pondicherry and start working a week or couple from there.
How does technology drive day-to-day operations inside your company? How do you use tech for that?
Because we are an HR tech company, whatever we develop, we dog food it first. So we call it as dog fooding. So we eat our own food. Recently, we launched expense management. So before launching it to the wider customer, we started using it, identified what can be the improvements, bugs, etc., and fixed it, and then rolled it out to the beta and the larger customer segment that we have.
And from an engineering leadership point of view, what are your top technology investments, and what are the new initiatives that you've kind of prioritized recently?
See, AI definitely is one of the top investments that we have.